Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel where I'm posting free Linux tutorials, videos and PDF notes with accompanying VirtualBox appliances. If you've not been here before, my name's Ken Marr. I'm a Linux tutor based in York in the UK. Do look through my unique selling points and why you might enjoy my video. The PDF notes and VMs are here if you come here via the internet but not via Facebook. And I've got two playlists at the moment, Adhoc and Introduction. Today I'm doing an Adhoc tutorial installing Arch. I'll show you how to do it the hard way, or most of it, because I don't bother doing it all. I prefer doing it the easy way. And just a reminder that late next week I'll be publishing part 9 of my Linux command line for beginners and Windows users, which is on file permissions. But today we're looking at installing Arch. So the first thing you need to do is download Arch. So go and Google Arch download, click on the downloads and get hold of the latest ISO, which is the 1st of November 2020. I've got a copy. My copy's there, and I'm going to be running this in VirtualBox. So I've got VirtualBox open there. So having downloaded it, my first step is to create a new virtual machine. Now you can find it there, but you can change this menu up here. If you go to details, there's new there. So I'm going to call this Arch, in which case it will know it's Linux, assume 64-bit. Go next, set the memory to, I usually set it to half of what I got, which is about there. Next, virtual hard drive, a VDI disk image, dynamically allocated, and I'm going to give it 20 gigabytes because I might want to install some packages. It will fit in 8, but it's a bit small. And create that. And there's our new virtual machine. Now, we need to load the ISO into the, I suppose you can think of it as a CD drive. So we go to the empty drive, click there. If it's not in the list, go choose a disk file, and it's that one. And OK. There it is, and then we can start it up. Now if this comes up, we don't want a hard drive because we haven't got a hard drive. We want the ISO we just loaded. Start. This one you can close while that's running. I'll put this over here. Press return, that's what we want. It will boot in, I don't know, 20 seconds I think it is. These little boxes you can close, usually they're about the mouse and the like. I'll just pause that while it's loading. Just command up there. That 10.0.2.15 is not a real IP address. Now to get a real IP address, what you do is you go to devices, you go to network settings and NAT. That means it's sharing with the host machine. Change it to bridge adapter, click OK. And you might have to start the network, but I found that I didn't. When I did IPA, maybe I have to give it a minute. Let's get the screen, try again. I got a network address. There we go. So I am 192.168.1.168. So I can now do that SCP, but we'll work our day around. As it says here, what you have to do is type this section. Now you could type the whole script. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to cheat, copy this across and run some of it because it saves typing. But these bits, you can't really do that. So I've commented them out like that with 2 hashes, and what I'm going to run I've just taken out with 1 hash. You can't copy and paste them, you can copy them from here but you can't paste them in here. Not yet, not until you've got it set up to Arch. So to start, we're going to set the key. Sorry about that, I had to stop there and start again. Right, I'm going to set the keyboard. So you can type in this ls piped into grep command to find your keyboard. This returns UK, which is mine. I'm going to type that in. Load my keys. Before I do, I'm going to type pipe symbols. They're not pipe symbols. I haven't got the right keyboard. But if I load keys, uk.map.gz and type the pipe symbol, I get pipe symbols. So I've got the right keyboard now. Now you might want to update the system clock. It all depends how it's set. It's currently 6:16. I type date. My clock's okay because it's 6:16 PM. But if you do have to update it, you can run the time date CTL command there. And the next thing I'm going to do is copy over my script. And I like to customize Vim, so I'm going to copy over my .vimrc file. So here I do scp, my user at my IP address. And then after a colon, install Arch with an upper A. Don't know why I put an uppercase A. .sh and copy it here. Current working directory, full stop. Now this comes up the first time you use something like SCP. Messages about key fingerprints. You need to say yes, because if you say Y, it complains. And then put in your password, my password, and there it is copied. I also like to copy my .vimrc file because I'm going to use Vim a lot and I like it customized. My password again. Let's copy the file. One last thing, I'll create an alias vi equal to Vim because I'm old school and I'm in the habit of typing vi instead of Vim, but I want to run Vim, which is what it will do. So I've now got my script, there it is, my vi file, Vim file, I beg your pardon. One other thing I'll do, I'll copy that to that. Not install arch.back because then I've got two files that begin with an I. If there's only one file that begins with an I, you can type an I, a tab, and it fills in file name, which is a neat trick. So that's copied it, and then we are here. Now if we look back at the script, I'm a bit past myself there because I've been jumping backwards and forwards. We are here. Update the system clock, partition the disks. So in the installation guide they give you some example layouts of how you might want to partition the disk. We're just going to have a mount and swap. Well, two partitions in effect, although one is swap. And we're going to do that using fdisk. So I clear the screen again and I do fdisk. Oh, I can't spell, sorry. Fdisk and specify dev SDA, not SDA 1 or 2 or 3, it's SDA because you're doing the whole disk, so you start with M, which is, brings up help, and that's M there, and then you can try P, which prints a partition table. Well, there's going to be nothing there at the moment. So we're going to create a new partition like this. N for a new partition. You can have 3 primary, 1 extended. So we'll go for a primary. It's partition 1, so we can just press return, take the default. Starts in the first sector. This is a swap partition, which is going to be 2 gigabytes. because I messed about with this before, it already contains a swap signature, but you won't get that when you're doing it from scratch. But yes, we'll get rid of that when we write it away at the end, which is what it says. It doesn't matter. Now N, second one, primary, partition 2, starts at the first free sector, takes up the rest of the disk. Again, we'll say yes there. And then P, so there are 2 partitions, and these RAID signatures are going to be wiped, but that's fine. So we've got 2 gig and 18 gig, which is our 20 gigs, and we write it away with a W. And then, whoops, it's control now, if we do fdisk -L, there are 2 partitions. STA1 is 2 gig, STA2 is 18 gig. Now we can set about doing something with the partitions. To do this, we're going to use the script, because I'm not going to type all this stuff in. So what I do is edit the script, and this is why all this lot's commented out, because nothing's going to happen when I run this as a script until I get to here, create the swap partition. So what we're going to do is create a swap partition and add it to our swap with swap on, create the file system, which is ext4 on STA2, swap is STA1, mount STA2 on /mnt, a directory. Over here we're in root, so SMT is there by default, I suppose. And then we're going to have a look. DF is going to show us what we've added, and swap's going to show us what swap we've added, and then we're going to exit. So this will only run this part of the script from lines 42 to 53, and then it will exit at line 55. So if I quit that, clear the screen and run it with /itab, there it's done. And if you go down, you can see that STA2 is mounted on /mnt, and STA1 is our swap table. Now the next thing we do, if we go back and check in the installation guide, because I am following that. Whoops, that's the wrong screen. Here we go. Having formatted the partitions, mounted them, we now select mirrors and we install essential packages before we set up FSTab. So back here, we're going to run reflector, create the mirror list, and then install the base packages. But I'm certainly not going to type all that in. So if I go back to Vi again, and what I'm going to do this time, I don't want anything from line 3 down to line 57. So I'm going to do colon. You can do this in Nano if you want, if you find it easier. If you're not good at Vi, just use Nano to edit your script. 3,57D. Those lines are deleted. So what will happen now is it will run these packcam commands, the reflector command, and install the base packages and exit again when it gets here, which is now line 11 in the script. So back here, I save that, clear the screen, run the script. Now this will ask me, there it is finding the mirrors. Then it will ask me if I want to do it or not, and I'll say why, and it runs for a while, so I'll freeze the screen and then come back when it finishes. Whoops, not like that, won't. Sorry. Yes, there we go. Right, that's finished. I've had a bit of a break there, as you'll see from the clock. It's the next morning. But what it's done, it's installed the base packages. So now we go on and generate etc fstab. Now I'm going to edit the script again, but this time show you how to do it in Nano. So if I do Nano iTab. Now I want to delete certain lines from Pac-Man down to the exit there. And the way you do that is you mark where you are with Control, Shift and 6. doesn't work. That's interesting because I just tried that and it did work. Well, I'm loath to do it this way, but you can cut lines with Control and K. So as it's only a few lines, I'll do it like that. So we end up with, we're going to generate FS tab and then display FS tab. Now we can save this in Nano with Control and X, Y to save the buffer, and return to save it in the same file. If you haven't seen this, then have a look at my my beginner's course. It's explained in there. Oh god, I got another break now to feed the cat. I'll just show you what that should have done. If I open a terminal on my Mint machine and do a nano and solutions.txt, I can mark that line with Control, Shift and 6 and then go down a number of lines and use Control and K, which is at the bottom of the screen here, cut text, to cut the text, Control and K. So it does work, it just didn't work in the... I'm not going to pursue it, I'll go back to Phi. But you can use Nano just to use Control and K and delete a few lines if you want to. Quit from this without saving it. And close that. So what we've got now is we're going to generate the FS tab. Clear the screen, ./i tab. There's FS tab. So what FS tab does on this line for SDA2, UUID is a unique ID of the disk, which you can use in some instances for some things. So it's mounting root, which is ext4, and this is a swap partition. Next, we change into root. Actually, this is a bit big. I think I'll make it smaller. Made it bigger, idiot. That's better. Right, this bit's next. This effectively makes root the new file system. The new file system at the moment is in MNT. There. We want to make that the root file system. So I don't need a script for that. I do arch -root. Sorry, -chroot, of course. Again, you can always use the man pages to see what these commands are doing. Look up chroot for this one, MNT. And then if we do an ls, we're in root. Right, so I've cleared the screen, and like I said, here we are in root. Now, one problem is we've lost the script. So what I need to do is recopy it. It was scp user at 1.07. The file is install rch.sh full stop. Now there's a problem there because we don't have SCP, but that's we can fix with pacman -s and install open SSH, which contains the SCP package, and then go back to SCP, copy the file, type yes there, put in my password. There's the file. While I'm here, I'll have vim rc as well. Now I don't really like these two files being under root. They'd be better off in the root directory. So what I'm going to do is going to copy, install. Actually, I'll move it. I'm going to move install to /root. I'm going to move .bimrc to root as well. Then I'm going to cd to root. There we are in root. Now back where we were on the screen here, the next thing to do is to set the time zone. Well, the time zone here is not correct. It's not Friday. So what I do is edit the script again with Vim. I haven't got the alias now. I'll not bother putting that back. I'll try and remember. And of course it's back as it was, so we won't want from 3 down to wherever Sharut was. Down here somewhere. I should have searched for it. There it is. 3 to 76. So we can do colon 3, 76, delete. And then we're just going to set the time zone and exit. Save that and run it. And then check the date. Still wrong. I don't understand that. Let's go back up in the script here. Maybe I got something wrong there. And let's try setting it like this. Time, date, CTL, set. Of course we should have done that. Well, we did do that before, didn't we? NTP, true. And then check it. That's better. It's 8:40, so maybe we should do that at that point. But you can make up your own script, or you can follow the setup on the web page. Right, here's where we are. So we're down to here now. Locale settings. Now, if you look on the web page, what they suggest you do is edit files. I don't like doing that because if you repeat this several times, it's a waste of time to keep editing files. So I've set up an editor which does it for you. So you set the time zone, edit local gen, and uncomment the line for your language, put that line in that file, set the key forward ellipse. So there's a couple of things to edit there, including the host names. It takes you down to about here, although it points out at that point that you don't really need to do that. Then you set the root password and reboot. And then you're on to the post installation. So I go back to one. What I'm going to do, what this does, this looks for that line in that file. Sed -i says save the current file. .back says back it up to .back. And that line there finds the line and substitutes a space for the hash at the beginning of the line. If you want to know how to use sed, again, come on my beginner's course, which is all on YouTube, or will be soon. And then that grep just checks that it worked. You've also got to copy this line here out to that file and copy the keyboard layout to this file and set up the host names file by, well, that echoes the name Arch to the host name, and this appends this set of lines to the end of the file. Let's go back and check on 3. Yes, they put the host name in the file and then these lines. So, and what this does is echoes these lines. You could use /n/tab in there too if you wanted to, but that appends to the end of the host file, and then there's an exit. Now if we go back into Vim, I'll show you an easy way to delete the lines we don't want. If you don't want that line, just type DD. To repeat the last command, use a full stop. So if I just type a full stop several times, that will take me down to the locale settings, which is where we want to be. We're going to run from here, 84, down to the exit there. There's the exit there on line 27. Save the file, which you can do with :X. There are several ways of doing it, that's the easiest. And then run the file. So what it's done, it's searched for the line beginning with a hash that's for GB, remove the hash. It's generated local gen, and it's created these files. If you want to check, just capture them. etc hosts. There, it looks like that. So that brings us down to the last bit now. We're nearly at the end. Set the root password. Again, let's edit the file. Did it again. Okay, .dd, and then actually an easier way is, if you reckon there are what, between 3 and 26, there are 23 lines, you can just do 23dd and it deletes 23 lines, and then get rid of those. So what we're going to do now is set the root password, add a new user called KDM, set their password, configure sudo for that user in the same way that I use sed further up. I'm removing the hash space from the beginning of the wheel all line, which allows the user, if they're in the right group, the wheel group, to use sudo. Install the grub bootloader and install network tools, but I'm going to do these a bit at a time just in case there's an error. So we'll go down as far as doing sudo, which is line 19 first. So save the file and run it again. So set the root password and confirm it. Set the user password and confirm it. And we've now taken the hash off of the wheel line. We haven't put them in. I haven't made them sudo actually. Why don't we do that as well? Right, I'll just sort that out. Give me a second. Okay, I've just added these two lines to the script. And what this does, the first one modifies the user and appends them to a new group. If you don't put the -a, it overwrites their default group. And if they're in the group wheel, they can use sudo. It's KDM there, which is the user. And there's, just to check its work, you can grep and look for wheel in etc sudo. So that will be in the script when I post it. Sorry, not sudo, what it says there, group. Now, so KDM is now in the sudo group, so he'll be able to use sudo. And then the last couple of bits, we want a bootloader. So go back to Vim and delete, I don't know, about 17 lines. And then we're going to install the grub bootloader, and if that works, we'll then install Network Manager and some other network tools, and then exit and reboot. So save the file, run it again, Yes, we want to set up the grub bootloader. So that's installing grub first, yeah, Pacman, then doing an install, and then a make config. That's done. It's the only system. It's the only Linux system in this VM, so it won't pick up any others. Now edit the file again. Control and R and search for Vim. Delete these lines down to install network tools. Save that. Control and X. Clear the screen. Run that. Now this is going to take a while, so I'll freeze the screen and come back when it's finished. There, that's finished. So now we just type in the last bit. Clear the screen. What we're going to do is exit from the shell we're in at the moment, because we're not in the base shell within Arch root. So we do an exit and then do a PS, and we're back in the original ZSH. We then unmount recursively /mnt. This is all in the installation instructions. Yep, they are there. They just don't list them out very well. Can't have everything. And we're done. Reboot. Now, foolishly, I mean, some things like Mint take the USB out or the ISO out when they do this. Arch doesn't. So what we need to do is shut that down. Go into VirtualBox and back on the. Did I mention taking a snapshot? You should always take a snapshot so that you can then go back to what you're doing. But that's covered in my Adhoc video about installing Ubuntu into VirtualBox. Go to storage, click on the ISO and remove it. Okay, and then start. There's the grub. Surprised that came up actually as Arch is the only thing on here. Let's return, and that will boot into our system. Bingo. We've got no desktop yet. We've got no X Windows running, but we can log in. I can log in as me with my password. And just to prove that I can use sudo, I'm going to look at etc shadow, the shadow password file, which I can't see. If I use sudo, exclamation mark brings up the previous command, which saves me typing cat etc shadow again. Now you get this: we trust you have received, etc, etc, respect the privacy, think before you type, and with great power comes great responsibility. So you put in your own password again, then I can look at the file. So that's fine, that worked. Now, the problem with that is you've now got to go back here and start looking at the recommendations for system management, directions, post instruction tutorials, list of applications you might want to install. Quite long, isn't it? So at this point I thought, I've had enough of this. So I started poking around on the net for something to make this easier. And the best thing I found is called Anarchy. Wonderful name. So if you search for Anarchy and download the Anarchy installer, there we go, just download it. It's a simple and intuitive terminal-based, well, it's a sort of mix between GUI and terminal, so they call it TUI, Arch Linux installer. And this is the best way to install it. So what I'm going to do back here is I'm going to shut this down. I probably won't keep it. It's taking up a lot of room actually because I put snapshots on it as well. Save my script. And I have got the Anarchy installer there. I've now opened VirtualBox, and the first thing I'm going to do is create a new virtual machine called Arch. Click Next, set the memory size, click Next. Next for create a virtual hard disk, next for virtual disk image, next for dynamic allocated, and set it as we did before to 20 gigabytes. And create. Then I'm going to go to storage, and in the empty CD drive I'm going to insert the latest Anarchy ISO, which is 1.3.1. Click OK and click Start and close VirtualBox. You have a choice now of the host drive, which doesn't exist. So click on the drop down, choose the ISO, click on Start. Don't need that. Up comes the Anarchy installer, press return. And when it finishes loading, you get this menu. Choose English. I'm going to find, where is it? I think it's EN this time. Yes, no, it's UK. United Kingdom. Oh, if you read that, what it says is if it goes wrong, you can cat the root/anarchy log and pipe it into NC to send it back to them for examination. So you might want to make a note of that before you carry on. So we start the installation. We'll do an update just to make sure we've got the laces of everything from Anarchy. Then we download and rank the mirrors, just like we did when we were doing it by hand. Now we choose I think it's GB this time. Oh no, it's EN, Great Britain. My time zone is Europe. I can type an E actually, get down to Europe. There is, whoop. My subzone is London, so type an L, find London. Auto partition the drive. So it's an STA, CXT4. Yes, we want to swap. Use their recommended size. No, we don't want that. Write the changes. And it does what we did. FDisk, make swap, MKFS, and mount, I think. Yep. So I'm going to have a desktop, quick desktop install. I haven't tried the others. I like Cinnamon, so I'm going to put Cinnamon on. We can add others later on if you want to. Call the machine Anarchy. Set a root password. I usually use root123. Confirm. Create a user. New user. So my KDM user. Simple, my full name, sorry. Simple password. Confirm simple password. Get ahead of myself here. There we go. Sudo privileges, yes please. Don't want any more, so we'll go across to done. Yes, we want some common software. So this is quite clever. From audio, for instance, you can use Audacity or well, any of the others that are there. Databases like MariaDB. You can change the fonts, choose games, go to graphics if you want to. I'm going to go to the internet and choose Firefox. You choose by pressing the space bar. And Opera, because I like to use Opera. And then OK. And add. What else? Multimedia. I've got things like Kden Live. If you look in Office, they've got LibreOffice, which I would normally load if I was doing this on my laptop. Programming, you can add Perl, Python, Ruby. Terminal, I like that one. That's a drop-down terminal. You drop it down by pressing, well on my laptop, by pressing F12. If I press F12, there it is. You can customize it by right-clicking. You split the screen, and we'll go back again. You might also like Tilix, which is another one I've used, or Terminator. I'm not going to add them here. Text editors. I'd like gedit and Vim. So I choose those two and then add them. If it's a server, you can have an FTP server, a Samba, you have a mail server, you have OpenSSH. Don't want any of those. No. Utilities. Oh, this is neat. You can have VirtualBox. Gparted was there as well. So normally I would add that. Utilities. Where are we? Keep going. Oh, extra desktops. So if you want to try out Budgie, which I haven't done, I might add that as well, to see what it looks like. And then lastly, you've got window managers, like i3 and OpenBox. You can add those as well. And then when you're done, you go across to install. And it updates, and it gives you a list of what it's going to install and your download size, and away it goes. And this takes about 10 minutes. These warning messages actually say that things are going to be installed before their dependencies, but that doesn't matter. Oh, and it's done. I stopped it, started it again. I'm going to power off because we need to remove the ISO rather than rebooting, in which case it will go back into the Anarchy installer. So open VirtualBox, go to Arch, go to Storage, click on Anarchy, click on the disk, click on Remove, and OK, and then click Start. Close that. Eventually. Right, there's our grub menu. It waits 10 seconds, I think. Don't want these, they're all about the capturing the mouse normally. And there is our login screen. Log in with your password. I like that screen. I'm not sure about the wallpapers, I haven't actually looked at them on the new one. But I did find some nice ones online to put on there, including the cover of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, which I thought was quite good. Close that. I can open Terminal and do an LS. I don't like ZSH, I can't read any of that. It doesn't have NeoFetch. I mean, look at it, it's horrible. I can't read any of the text there. So I'm going to save it anyway. Shut it down. And that's it. I've now got Arch installed. Right, that's the end of this video. We've now installed Arch. My advice would be have a go at it the hard way. You'll see how hard it is, and then try it the easy way. I have had Anarchy fail a couple of times, but I persevered and it worked. The second time, I think, or I had it fail with 1.2.1. This is 1.3.1. So it's probably improved. But if it does fail, send them the log file so they can have a look at the errors. Next week, file permissions as part of my command line course. There's my plea for support, which always falls on deaf ears. Do subscribe, like and comment. Do recommend and share me on Facebook. Send me feedback, questions and suggestions, if you like. Nobody seems to like. Right, okay, that's the end. See you next time. Bye bye.